play it once, Sam. For all time's sake.
I don't know what you mean, Miss Elsa.
Play it, Sam.
What in heaven's name brought you to Casablanca?
History happened everywhere.
Who are you really, and what were you before?
Hello, my name is Ryan Weir, and I'm here in the HHE studio with the Moroccan to my Morocant. It's Mr. Peter Goddard.
I am a Moroccan. We can do it, Ryan. We can podcast.
I'm not so sure.
Well, let's find out.
Here's looking at you, kid.
Now, Peter, last week, the Derzolator gave us for episode 104 literature in Morocco during the Vedic period, 1500 to 500 BCE.
A blooming long time ago.
And I am going to admit now that it was much harder than it first appeared, and it appeared hard.
Yes, you had my full agreement on that, so I'm interested to see how you managed it.
Indeed. But look, before we go any further, can you please tease our listeners? I want hints at things to come. I want sneaky previews of impending entertainment. I want absolutely no spoilers, and I want engaging vocals throughout. Can you do that?
I can.
Then please do it.
All right, well, Ryan, we're off to North Africa, to the Maghreb, home of Berber people, Barbary lions, and a burgeoning movie business. We'll talk about skiing over the desert and learn about loving with your liver. We'll find out how the region transformed from a land of flat-faced nomads to a minaret-building, bullet-train-riding nation mad for mint tea. And we'll meet the man who breathed life into prehistory's rebel with a cause, a cultural warrior whose lifelong struggle to preserve memories at risk of annihilation left a legacy of songs in the stars. Plus, we're going to discover the history and mythology, heroes and monsters of ancient times. Welcome to the land of the sunset. Welcome to the kingdom of the west. Welcome to Morocco.
Morocco, 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 let's go. From the desert sands to the rivers that flow. With unity strong and heart so true. Morocco, Morocco, we love you.
Yeah, now, I mean, I'm teased, but even I didn't really understand much of what we were talking about there. I look forward to finding out what is going to happen in this episode.
That's what makes it a teaser trailer, Ryan.
It sure was. Now, Peter, what is Morocco? Where is Morocco? Tell me, please.
But do you ever ask, how is Morocco?
How is Morocco?
How is Morocco? Morocco's doing quite nicely, thank you very much. And it's the Kingdom of Morocco, which is a country in the Maghreb region. That's North Africa, the top bit above the Sahara Desert up to the edge of Egypt, which supposedly represents the western half of the Arab world.
Ah.
It borders Algeria and Western Sahara, although there is an ongoing dispute about where exactly the border between Morocco and Western Sahara should actually be. There is a contested region.
I love a border dispute.
Yeah, it keeps things interesting, does it not?
It sure does.
I wonder if the people there have two passports, just depending on who they're talking to. If you exclude the Western Sahara disputed area, though, you have a country of 446,500 square kilometres, or 172,400 square miles, which is 81% the size of France, so not far off of France.
We'll always have Paris.
Really? France is bigger?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I guess that disputed land, though.
Chuck that in, it does help get it up there to almost exactly France, I think. The population is about 37 million people, and it's a heady mix. It's quite a diverse area. It's got Arabs, Berbers, Africans, and European cultures all munged into the area.
Okay, yeah, that's a lot of different cultural influence.
A lot, and we'll find out about that, I'm sure, in the history section.
We will.
The dominant religion is Islam, and the official languages are Arabic and Berber. Also, though, you'll find French and the Moroccan dialects of Arabic commonly used in the country.
I wonder why.
Well, the capital is Rabat, although that's not its largest city. Its largest city is, Ryan, the city of Casablanca.
Oh, is it?
Of all the podcasts in all the world, you had to come into mine.
I thought it was going to be Marrakesh or somewhere.
No, it's Casablanca. I was surprised by that myself, I must admit.
Oh, there you go.
Now, flag-wise, it has quite a cool flag. I quite like this one. It's a red flag with a green pentagram in the centre.
Is that the sign of the devil?
It is the devil logo, I think.
The devil's logo?
Yeah,
the devil's brand?
Yeah, he came up with it. Marketing did him a solid there. But yes,
Okay.
it's not, in this case, symbolic of the devil. It's a five-pointed star. Although I would also point out that all of the stars on the Stars and Stripes are five-pointed stars as well.
Devils everywhere.
Exactly. Now, the colours are specifically bright red and palm green in whatever the document that describes what the flag should be. But it doesn't actually describe, it's not a Pantone's colour, so how you decide what is bright red and palm green, I'm not exactly sure.
Okay.
But it was originally just a plain red flag, which is pretty interesting to me.
Okay.
It was only in 1915 when Sultan Yusuf declared Morocco's flag would be red with a green pentangle, which must have been a relief for people who wanted to know when it was safe to go swimming.
Very clever. Because a red flag means don't swim, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
See a little jape, little jest for you there.
It's very good.
The Guinness World Record for largest flag ever draped was for a while. I know.
Yeah, go on.
You laugh at that, but I'm going to bring this back to the. I'm definitely bringing this back to the verdict because I went down a right rabbit hole of flag-based Guinness records.
It's the drapage part that I like.
Exactly, and come back to the. If you want to know more about flags and records, come back to the verdict. But
okay,
yeah, for a while it was a Moroccan flag when one measuring 60,500 square meters, 650,000 square feet, was draped in Dakhla, which sounds like fun and games until you find out that Dakhla is a city in the disputed territory of Western Sahara.
So is it a kind of a political thing?
Yeah, I think it's a look at this fun thing, but we're also hoisting our flag in a disputed region, which is a little bit more serious, I think.
That feels intentional.
Does, doesn't it? But yeah, it only lasted 3 years, and now Qatar holds the record.
Oh, does it?
Yeah. Now, can I introduce an anthem, sir?
Is it the Moroccan one?
I thought that would be apposite, yes.
Yeah, okay, let's have a listen.
All right, here we go. Ooh. It's got grandeur, hasn't it? I like this a lot. So now this is called the Sharifian anthem, with Sharif referring to a leader or ruler who is a descendant of the Prophet Muhammad, although there are different versions of what that actually means. The melody was composed by a Frenchman, funnily enough, chief of music for the Moroccan Royal Guard, Leo Morgan, and is said to have been composed in 1952, which is 4 years before Morocco's independence in 1956. But, interestingly, it didn't have any lyrics until 1970.
That's a long time to go without lyrics.
And it's quite a good story. In fact, the Moroccan national football team qualified for the 1970 FIFA World Cup for the first time, and they're like, well, people should be able to sing something in the stadium, shouldn't they? So they decided it was time to have words for your national anthem. But the lyricist chosen was an author called Ali Squali Husani.
Ali Squali Husani? That's a great name.
It's awesome, isn't it? So, well done, Ali Squali. That's all I can say to that. I like that one. It's a cracker, I think.
Yeah, good stuff. I like the beginning in particular.
Now, Ryan, it's time for...
Morocco Facts!
Now, Ryan, did you know you can go skiing in Morocco?
I did not know I could go skiing in Morocco.
Neither did I until I stumbled upon this.
It would not be top of my ski holiday destination list.
Right, you think Morocco, you think heat and desert, but it is also home to the Atlas Mountains, and you can get your ski on over there. And one of the more prominent resorts is OK Maiden, which is also the highest ski resort in Africa, which doesn't feel like quite the boast that they pretend it is. But apparently has 20 slopes of various difficulties. Now, I've never been skiing, so I don't know if that's lots of slopes or not many slopes.
Sounds like a lot.
It does sound like a lot to me. But what is impressive is apparently on a really clear day, you can ski whilst also being able to see the sand dunes of the Sahara Desert.
Wow. Okay, that is cool. That's awesome. How about that? You get a really awesome selfie, with the Sahara in the background whilst slaloming downhill.
Yeah, it looks really cool. Now, also, Ryan, what organ of the body would you say was the symbol of love?
The heart.
Not in Morocco, sir. Well, actually, yes, in Morocco, they do use the heart. But in Morocco, you might also love someone with your liver.
Really, though?
Yeah. There's a phrase used in the Berber language, which is used primarily for familial love, so it's not romantic love. So you might refer to someone as my liver, as you might say my heart. Yeah.
Now,
funny. I searched around. I couldn't find anyone who could give me a reason why this was the case, but I found plenty of people saying, yeah, it's a real thing, that you'd say, oh, my liver, instead of my heart.
I'm trying to picture what the finger symbol would be. Like with a heart, you put your fingers together and your thumbs together. Now, what would a liver be? It would be like...
Just scrunch your fingers up, I suppose.
Yeah, it's like doing shadow puppets.
Another fun Morocco fact, Ryan, is that it's arguably America's oldest ally. It's quite possibly the first country that recognised the United States' independence. Because on December 20th, 1777, Morocco announced that ships sailing under the American flag could freely enter Moroccan ports. This perhaps wasn't as appreciated as you might hope, because the Americans did not officially respond to this for 3 years.
Oh.
December 1780, they went, oh, thanks. Which seems
the equivalent of sending a text message that just says K.
I mean, ghosted by America. That's pretty grim on day one. Before.
Oh, man.
And finally, Ryan, Morocco has a long history in the movie-making business.
Does it, though?
Well, you'll be familiar with blockbusters such as Gladiator,
I am.
Gladiator 2,
I am.
Lawrence of Arabia.
I am.
They were filmed partly in Morocco, but the history of filmmaking in the area actually goes right back to the Lumiere brothers, of some founding characters in cinema history, right? Louis Lumiere filmed a film called The Moroccan Goat Herd in 1895.
No way.
Yeah, and since then, the list of movies made there is quite long. The Hitchcock's The Man Who Knew Too Much, to more modern things such as Last Temptation of Christ, The Mummy, Black Hawk Down, The Bourne Ultimatum, Sex and the City 2, wouldn't miss that, John Wick Chapter 3, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, and many, many more.
Basically, if your film has got a fez in it, you filmed it in Morocco.
Except for the classic film Casablanca, which is set in Morocco, but was shot entirely in Burbank, California, and Van Nuys Airport in Los Angeles.
Seriously, there's nothing at all of the real Casablanca in there?
Not a thing.
But the Rick's Bar exists, though, doesn't it, in Casablanca?
Yeah, I think that's a post-movie invention.
Oh, is it?
But yes, we can talk about Casablanca in the verdict. There you are. Morocco facts.
Morocco facts.
Thank you.
Hey, Pete.
Hey, Ryan.
Did you know that rats laugh when they're tickled?
Really?
Yeah, and they remember kindness. They even leave little gifts for the rats that they like.
Oh, that's sweet, I guess, but why are you telling me this?
And, in the right conditions, 2 rats can have 1,000 babies in a year.
Ryan, have we got rats?
Oh, yeah, loads of them.
What?
But it's fine. Honestly, it's a good thing.
How is it a good thing?
Well, for one thing, they've started a book club.
What?
Yeah, they meet every Thursday night in the cupboard under the sink.
Really?
Yeah, they just finished Pride and Prejudice, actually. Apparently, they hated Darcy.
Well, that is strange. I thought everyone loved Darcy.
No, not the rats. They thought he was emotionally unavailable.
Well, that's... Wait. Why am I talking literary criticism with rats? I'm calling pest control.
No, you can't do that.
Why not?
Well, because they really want you to come to their next meeting.
Why on earth would a bunch of rats want me at their book club?
Well, because they've read your poetry. I showed them your notebook.
You what?
They said it helped them understand the loneliness and futile dreamscape of the adult human male, especially all those poems about the girl in the library.
Look,
your aisle filled with books, your beauty grabs like spiky hooks, your smile is nice and full of grace. I wish you'd come back to my place.
That was private, Ryan.
Yeah, well, the rats loved it. Said you have real talent as a writer.
Real talent, eh? Fine, I'll do one poem.
Great.
Okay, Ryan, that is where we are, but what happened there? Why didn't you just tell me everything that happened from the beginning to about yesterday?
Okay, so let's start 315,000 years ago.
I love it.
And the area there is a lot different than Morocco is today. The Sahara wasn't a desert. It was green, it was wet, it was cool. There was plenty of savannas and woodlands and grasslands, and there are lions there, and elephants there, and giraffes there, and hippos and antelope, and all those things you see on a safari. Now, the thing that wasn't there was early man, and he arrived at this point. And he's a strange-looking fella. He's a human-looking, but he's got a flat face. And up until recently, people thought that he was actually Neanderthal. But no, really just a flat-faced old Homo sapien.
Ah.
Old flat face.
Oh, stop calling me flat face.
Stop calling me flat face. Anyway, flatface is nomadic, and he's kind of roaming around. He's using stone tools, he's hunting and butchering, and he does that for a while. A long while, actually, about 150,000 years, which is enough time to grow bored of it. And around 140,000 BCE, he starts getting into jewellery making instead. And he puts some shells on a string, and he swings around town looking all fancy.
Yeah, I worry that took him that long, but I fancy that if I were washed up on an island, I'd have made a string of shells within a few weeks, to be honest.
Anyway, the Neolithic creeps in around 10,000 BCE. Settlements appear, local people known as the Atarians, famed for their use of tools. They start trading with folks from all around the Mediterranean, Egypt, and a few other little places too. Now, there's farming, there's pottery, there's a bit of construction too. There's some megalithic tombs built and some carved out rocks and caves found. And around 1100 BCE, the Atarians are gone. bronze is all the rage.
Hey.
Now, the Phoenicians turn up and they're looking to trade shiny new metal. And what they end up mostly swapping is purple dye for tuna.
For tuna?
Yeah, apparently so.
Do you mean in exchange? You don't mean they're dyeing their tuna purple?
Well, I don't know what they're doing with the tuna. It's up to them what they do. It's their tuna.
True,
Anyway,
it's not ours to...
It's not ours to question, is it? Anyway, 1,000 years pass. The Romans appear, and they absorb much of the region into their empire, as they did. They built the city of Volubilis. My darling, you're looking volubilis.
You're looking volubilis tonight, my love.
Yeah, and what they do is mainly kickstart an olive oil industry.
Oh, nice.
Oh, and also fight with the local folks.
Yeah, well, that was their thing.
But Rome disappears in the 600s. Berber tribes and Visigoths, they run the show for a while until Arabic armies sweep in. They bring Islam and the Arabic language with them, and they tax the living heck out of the locals, Pete.
Oh, no taxation without representation.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Now, in the year 788, a guy called Idris, he marries the chief's daughter, he becomes the new leader, and he sets about establishing a dynasty. And the Moroccan statehood is born. The capital is a place called Fez. And 100 years later, in 859, a young woman called Fatima al-Firi, she invests her inheritance, basically, into an institution that's kind of like a mosque, kind of like a university type thing. And she calls it Al-Qarawiyyin.
Al-Qarawiyyin.
Yeah, basically it's a university, and it's so successful that it's still in operation today. They're still handing out degrees 1,200 years later. Gives it the official title of world's oldest continually operating university.
Nice. I hope they've updated the courses, though.
Yeah.
As far as we know, the Earth is flat.
Now, in 1070, a bunch of hardcore desert monks.
Oh, desert monks. That's awesome already.
Yeah, they're known as the Almoravids. They ride out of the Sahara and they establish Marrakesh. They build an empire that makes them medieval Europe's richest people.
Nice.
Now, jealous of their success, a new group called the Almohads turn up in the 12th century. They topple the Almoravids, they defeat a Spanish army, and they celebrate by building a 77-metre high minaret onto the side of a mosque.
That's what I'd do.
It made it one of the tallest structures in the Islamic world.
Nice. I was going to do that on my house.
Now, they got about 200 years to marvel at this minaret before a nomadic warrior tribe of Berbers called the Marinids arrived. They fought the Almohads, they captured Marrakesh, and they gave up being nomads, settling in and building libraries.
Yeah, I can imagine what happened. They're all sitting around in their new-found city, and one guy's like, should we go nomading then, guys? And they're like, can we just stay here? Is that an option? I don't want to go anywhere. This is comfortable.
I just think it sucks being a nomad, having to cart your library around with you. I just think they were sick of lugging their books about.
Yeah, that's hard. Books are heavy. I think we all know that.
Yeah, exactly. Now, they expand across the region, all the way into Algeria, until around 1578, when there's a great big battle between three kings, Portuguese, Moroccan, and an ex-Moroccan king. Now, can you guess what that battle was called, Pete?
Is it the Battle of the Three Kings?
It was called the Battle of the Three Kings, yes.
Yes!
And that battle, remarkably, ends up with all three of those monarchs killed in the same fight.
Does that mean everyone who had a bet on it got their money back?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. Now, this leaves the area open to new leadership. And in a somewhat suicidal display of power, in 1591, some dusty desert sultan nobodies decide that they're going to march 2,500 men 3,000 kilometres south across the Sahara into modern-day Mali. Now, why would you do that?
Usually there's gold involved.
There's gold involved, that's right. Yeah, they head into Timbuktu and they take over a bunch of West African gold fields. But it turns out that despite having all the gold that you could ever possibly want, it doesn't matter if you have very little experience of how to actually use any of it. And so their rule lasts for about 50 years.
Oh, after all that walking, that is disappointing.
It sure is. Now, at this point, Morocco just goes into full chaos mode. You've got these regional warlords that are just carving up the country. You've got pirates and traders taking advantage of the fact that there's no central power stopping them. And basically, the country just fragments into this feuding broil of thievery and mischief. Sounds awesome.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Now, that is until 1666, when Moulay al-Rashid, a supposed descendant of the Prophet Muhammad, who calls himself Morocco's divinely connected saviour, he takes charge. Now, in 4 years, he rolls through Fez, he rolls through Marrakesh and the rest of the entire country in 4 years.
That's pretty good going.
Yeah, he declares himself Sultan of Morocco and establishes the Alawite dynasty, which, Pete, is still going today.
Ah, it's not as old as the university, though.
That is true. Now, fun fact, Moulay al-Rashid's son, Moulay Ismail, he apparently fathered 888 children.
In an attempt to secure his legacy, that is playing the numbers game, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think he stopped there. He's like, no more.
Yeah, that's it. Done. Also, bit knackered.
Tired.
I'm just tired. Now, 300 years passes under the Moulays until 1912. Yeah, we've got to that point. And the French decide that the middle of the country there in Morocco probably needs some protection.
Right, yes, we've seen this, haven't we?
And the Spanish go, yeah, you know what, the north and the south could do with some protection too.
Very in need of protecting, I'm sure.
And you know what, despite some very ungrateful local Berbers, they continue to hold on to the place, including one battle in 1921 where Spain is handed its worst defeat since the Spanish Armada in 1588.
Wow.
But they don't take that well, Pete.
No, that's another historic thing that happens a lot.
Yeah, they respond appropriately. Do you know how they do that? They conduct the world's first instance of chemical warfare by aerial bombing.
Oh my
They
Lord.
bomb villages, water sources, crops and livestock with 500 tons of mustard gas. Now, this is an event that some historians classify today as chemical genocide.
I mean, that seems like it fits, doesn't it? If you're bombing villages and just normal people.
So Morocco is still in the grip of the French in the 1950s, and when their puppet king, Sultan Mohammed V, starts ignoring the demands of the French and starts working to establish an independence movement, the French get a bit flighty and go, you know what, we should get rid of him. So they depose him and they exile him to Madagascar.
Wow, I would not have guessed that, but okay.
No. Anyway, so after a series of public protests and boycotts, the French reconsider their approach and they bring Mohammed back. They make him Sultan again, and a year later, Morocco receives its independence.
Having lived a relatively ordinary life, I find it staggering to imagine these people who go from being so on top to just exiled in Madagascar to then coming back again. Those sort of highs and lows are so alien to my life as a ordinary nobody.
I mean, I can exile you from the flat if you like.
Could, yeah, but I want to be on top first. I've got to get on top, Ryan.
Fair enough. Now, in the 1970s, Pete, having excised the French, 350,000 unarmed Moroccans decide they're going to do the same with the Spanish. And so what they do is they march unarmed into Spanish-controlled Sahara, waving Korans and flags and demanding that Spain gives up its colonial grip. And within weeks, Spain signs the Madrid Accords and hands the area back to Morocco and Mauritania.
Wow. I can only imagine the meeting where they said, well, yeah, they're marching on us. Well, what have they got? Books and flags. They love their books. Anyway, right, so the spirit of the Almohads reappears in 1987 when a mosque opens in Casablanca with a minaret that is 210 metres tall. Oh, I like that. That is a petty one-upmanship I can get behind.
Yeah. In 1999, Sultan Mohammed VI inherits the throne. He loosens censorship and he greenlights a new law that basically gives women more legal rights. Now, into the new millennium, and in 2011, 98% of people vote to reduce royal powers. They don't want the king having so much power. And that results in a parliament, a prime minister, regular elections. But it would be untrue to say that the monarchy still doesn't hold a lot of power, especially over things like foreign policy and defence and religion.
Right.
Yeah. In 2023, an earthquake hits and kills nearly 3,000 people. The world's biggest solar plant opens in 2024, generates enough electricity, Pete, to power 1 million homes.
Ooh.
Today, 2025, we find Morocco as a dynamic mix of the old and the new. There's bleeding-edge bullet trains that rocket across the country past 900-year-old mosques and old men drinking mint tea. Protests still do happen across the country, especially over the economy, but the government generally backs down over these. It tends not to crack down. Note that some political activist journalists might disagree with that. Now, economically, though, they are doing quite well. They are often recognised as one of Africa's top performers in most of the charts, but unemployment is one of its major issues, especially among young people. Almost 30% of those under the age of 25 are unemployed. That being said, tourism is booming. 50% of the country's energy comes from renewable sources. There are tech and startup scenes emerging thanks to partnerships with the EU and some of the countries in the Middle East. Women's rights are generally respected, but there are still some rural areas where it's not quite so much. There are some serious issues with literacy, wealth inequality and overcrowding, but I think you could probably point to a lot of countries and say the same.
Oh, it sounds like Croydon, to be honest.
Yeah, well, indeed. In general, by most measures, Morocco feels like a country that has potential. In the coming years, we're going to see and hear a lot more from it. It is a genuine African success story. And so for that reason, I wish them all the best.
Me too. Good luck, Morocco. You can do it. We've got the support of HHE Podcast.
You Morocco can do it.
Morocco.
Damn it, wish I'd thought of that.
What do we want? Sultan out. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Sultan out. When do we want it? Now.
And you know what, guys? Don't you think this is a bit much? I mean, he's not that bad, is he?
No, I suppose not.
You know, why don't we be a little bit more specific, yeah?
All right, let's try.
Okay.
What do we want? Reduce powers for the Sultan. When do we want it? Now.
Okay, yeah, but don't you think now is a bit unreasonable? I mean, doesn't this sort of thing need to be implemented a bit more carefully than that?
You're right.
All right.
What do we want? Moderate government. When do we want it? In line with phased managed planning milestones.
Yeah, we're probably going to need some governance on that too, though.
Oh, that's a good point.
What do we want? A robust constitutional framework. When do we want it? Following appropriate consultation and ratification procedures followed by judicial review.
But this doesn't really mention the outcomes that we want, though, does it?
No, that's true. Should we try something else?
Yeah, okay.
What do we want? Reforming the legislature and judiciary, although we accept pretty much any transformation whereby the monarch's control is limited to a largely ceremonial role. When do we want it? Ideally by the end of this financial year, but we're willing to wait so long as it happens, but sooner rather than later.
All right. But it is a bit unwieldy, isn't it?
Well, we could kind of summarise it a bit, if you like.
Yeah, let's try that again.
Okay.
What do we want? Sultan out. When do we want it? Soon.
Okay, well, look, here we go. We've talked around it enough, Pete. The challenge has been set. The die has been cast. It is time for us to talk literature in Morocco. Off you go, Pete. What have you got?
So the elephant in the room is there is no literature in Morocco from 500 BCE to 1500 BCE. So I'm going to talk like kind of literature in the sense of stories and books. So I'm going to bring our attention to a thing called the Bibliotheca, which is a compendium of, amongst other things, Greek myths and heroic legends that goes back to about the 1st or 2nd century CE.
Okay, all right.
So this is a work that's commonly described as being written by someone called Apollodorus. This is supposedly the 2nd century BCE scholar Apollodorus of Athens, although you might also hear it said to be by pseudo-Apollodorus on account of it not having been written by the 2nd century BCE scholar Apollodorus of Athens.
Okay. Apollodorus also sounds like a type of dinosaur.
How did he write with those little arms, Ryan? Think about it.
Yeah.
So what I'm telling you, Ryan, is we don't know who wrote this thing.
Okay.
But in the book, you will find tales of the mightiest men, usually men, let's be honest, in history or myth. And one of these is Hercules.
Hercules,
also known as
Not
Hercules.
to be confused with Hercules.
Well, I'm going to go with Heracles as the Greek because this was a Greek book. So I'm going to talk briefly, Ryan, about the legend of Heracles, but it's worth noting the Bibliotheca was just one text. There are loads of other versions and sources for the story of Heracles. So I'm going to bring them together from various sources. So I raised the Bibliotheca, but that is just one of the sources for these stories I'm going to tell. So, in the book, you'll find that Heracles had 12 labours, which I'm sure you've heard of.
Yeah, I couldn't name one of them, but yeah.
Well, don't worry, because I will tell you what they were. So, Heracles was the son of a god Zeus, born of an affair, and a living reminder to Zeus's wife Hera of his infidelity.
He had a lot of that, though, didn't he?
He did,
loved a bit of infidelity.
Hera did not like it, and as a consequence, she despised young Heracles. She tried to kill him, in fact, when he was a baby, by sending 2 serpents to kill him in his cradle. But he was the son of a god. He was a strong man, and he used his mega strength to strangle the snakes and came to no harm, even as a tiny baby.
Aww.
But Hera was not finished with him. When Heracles grew up, he had a wife and children, and Hera basically drove Heracles mad, causing him to kill his own wife and kids.
What?
So he wanted to make amends, so Heracles was instructed to repent by serving a king, Eurystheus, who assigned the remorseful hero 12 tasks, or labours.
Okay. I mean, random, but all right.
Yeah, well, so first he hunted and killed the Nemean lion, whose skin he took to wearing, which is why I'll often see depictions of Heracles wearing a lion's pelt.
That's a good challenge, though, isn't it? Fighting a lion.
It is a good one. As just a warm-up, though, because next he kills the monstrous Hydra of Lerna, a 7-headed beast.
Yeah, that's a proper upgrade from a lion, isn't it?
It is. So now it gets a bit easier. He nips to Arcadia to capture a hind or a deer.
Yeah, that's much easier.
Right?
I reckon I could do that one.
Exactly. And the next one's a little bit harder, but he's got to capture a wild boar of Mount Erymanthus.
They're tricky creatures.
Next up, bit of light cleaning. He's got to wash out the stables of King Augeas. This is a rancid warehouse that hadn't been cleaned in 30 years.
See, I'd quite enjoy that. I like a good clean.
He had to do it in a day, though.
Put a podcast on, some rubber gloves.
Get going. Well,
Get going.
Heracles did it by diverting 2 local rivers to wash the filth away.
That's very clever. Thinking laterally.
He did. He was smart and strong, this chap. Then we're back to killing. He had to kill the monstrous man-eating birds of the Stymphalian marshes.
Oh my gosh, okay.
So all of these, Ryan, took place in the Peloponnese. So if you see a map of Greece, you see that sort of sticky downy island bit, not quite an island, but the sticky out bit at the bottom left. That is the Peloponnese. And all of these tasks took place there. But then he goes on his travels. His next task takes him to Crete, where he captures a mad bull.
Okay, right.
Then he's on to the Black Sea to Bistonia to get hold of the man-eating horses of King Diomedes.
I mean, this is task, 7 now he's on?
I'm not sure, but
Right.
he's on his
done a
travels
lot.
now. He's been busy. Now he's on to the Black Sea to Bistonia to get hold of the man-eating horses of King Diomedes.
The man-eating horses.
And now he's off for a bit of light thievery, Ryan. He's been sent on a quest to take the girdle of Hippolyte, the queen of the Amazons, from Themyscira, also on the Black Sea.
What's a girdle?
Big wide belt, I think we can call that. But
Right.
then from here, he was sent west to the very edge of the world. He was sent to fetch the cattle of Gorion, and this was on the far westernmost point of the world and beyond, or as we know it today, Cadiz in Spain. Nice little town if you ever get to visit it.
Right.
But at that time, in ancient times, this was, from the Greeks' point of view, the end of the known world. And there is a Roman version of the story of Heracles where he heads west and he reaches the land at the end of the world and he simply uses his mega strength to smash through. And it was Heracles who creates the passage that connects the Atlantic Ocean to the Mediterranean Sea, in the process forming the Strait of Gibraltar.
I mean, that's a big punch.
It is a big punch, and it's marked by 2 peaks, the Rock of Gibraltar itself, and on the other side there's 2 versions, Jebel Musa in a land that we know today as Morocco, although there's another candidate, which is Mount Hacho, which is not technically Morocco, so it's not that one.
Okay, right.
But Ryan, all this is warm-up for his 11th task, which is the one that interests us for this podcast.
Was it to write a podcast about literature in Morocco?
Yeah, he gave up. He didn't get to the 12th task.
Everything else was fine, and that was the one that he fell over on.
No, for his 11th task, Heracles was sent to the Garden of the Hesperides, said to be a wonderful garden at the western edge of the world, populated by nymphs and home to the goddess Hera's orchard of golden apples.
Okay, but it sounds lovely.
Right,
Doesn't
and it
sound
was-
like a task, sounds like a holiday.
Well, it was basically a scrumping mission. It was these apples that Heracles was dispatched to steal.
Oh, okay.
Now, before we get there, though, it turns out that, much like myself playing video games, Heracles does like a side quest.
Ah, what was the side quest?
Well, according to another work of literature called Pharsalia, which is a Roman epic poem written by the poet Lucan about 61 CE, on his way to steal the apples, Heracles hears about a mighty giant named Antaeus, a mighty wrestler and son of Poseidon, god of the sea, and the earth goddess Gaia.
Right.
Now, Antaeus would challenge passers-by to a wrestling match. But the secret that Antaeus had was because he was the son of the earth, whenever he would touch the ground, he'd be reinvigorated. So he would basically wrestle, and he'd look tired and you'd think you're winning. But then as soon as his foot touched the ground, boom, he's all refreshed again.
Yeah, that's good. So you need to keep him in the air.
Well, Heracles takes the challenge on and he begins to wrestle Antaeus. He beats him down to exhaustion. He throws Antaeus to the ground and Antaeus jumps up, full of life again. 3 times Heracles takes Antaeus to the brink of exhaustion, and with a single touch of the soil, he comes back refreshed. But, as you rightly say, Heracles will not be beaten, and realising what is happening, he grapples Antaeus with his big muscly arms and lifts him into the air, and he crushes and crushes and crushes, squeezing the life out of his opponent, keeping him lifted in the air the whole time, out of reach of the refreshing ground.
Mm-hmm. Clever. I was right.
You were right.
I'm
You
like
could have done
Heracles.
that. You are like Heracles without the muscles. So the great fighter Antaeus is killed, but to add insult to injury, Heracles also goes on to have a child with the wife of Antaeus. Now, Heracles and Tingis have a child named Sufax, and Sufax goes on to establish a city that we know today, named after his mother Tingis, the city of Tangiers, Morocco.
Wow. You pulled it off.
Yeah, so what's more, if you travel to a place called Mazura in northern Morocco, you'll find a remarkable stone circle. It's got 167 monoliths, or big stones in a circle around a tumulus or a burial mound, 6 metres high. Now, Ryan, you'll like this. According to the ancient historian Plutarch in 82 BCE, the Roman general Sertorius visited this tomb and decided to have a little dig like you do.
Yep.
I don't, but he obviously did. And there they found the remains of a huge man, the final remains of the mighty Antaeus.
That's cool. I like that.
In the 1950s, an archaeologist named Michael Taradell also excavated the site and did not find any giant bones or remains. So who knows? Perhaps the evidence was wishful thinking, or at some point was just spirited away through the centuries.
Yeah, they just took it away, right?
Maybe. But in any event, based on evidence of amphora found in the mounds, the site was actually dated to approximately the 4th or 3rd century BCE.
Oh, very good. How about that?
So we've got to go back to the main quest though, Ryan, the Hercules and the apple stealing.
Okay.
Hercules decides to get some help. He comes across another very strong man, a chap named Atlas.
Okay, he's the one who carried the world on his shoulders.
Very much so, and at the time he was holding up the very heavens on his back. He could be found at the western edge of the world, and he gave his name, in fact, to the endless ocean beyond the edge of the world, the Atlantic.
Wait, so he was carrying the world, but he was also at the edge of the world?
So he doesn't carry the world, he carries the heavens. But anyway, Hercules says to Atlas, hey man, can you help me steal these apples? And he goes, yeah. Do you mind just holding these heavens up for me for a minute? Because I can't do it there. I think you see where this is going. Hercules obliges and Atlas nips off on a scrumping expedition.
Okay.
Sure enough, good as he were, he returns with the apples and he goes, do you know what? I'll just take them back for you. You don't use... I'll finish the job for you, mate. Don't worry. But Heracles can see this is clearly just a way for him not to take back his heavy burden.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the moment that he left, he went, oh no, wait a minute.
Oh, hang on. Yeah, this is trying to get comfortable. But Heracles is cunning. He goes, yeah, no problem. Yeah, no problem, mate. But just a minute. Could you just hold this for a minute so I can get some padding and make the heavens a bit more comfortable on my back? And then Atlas takes the heavens for a moment and Heracles goes, you sucker. I'm off. Thanks for the apples. I'm out. Peace out. Long story short, Atlas is back on the job. Side note, Atlas also later has a falling out with the hero Perseus, who killed the Medusa, and Perseus pulls the Medusa head out of his bag, shows it to Atlas, turns him into stone, creating today the Moroccan Atlas Mountains.
Atlas Mountains! How did I not connect Atlas Mountains with that story about Atlas? Oh, I'm so dumb. You wrapped me into your little web there.
I did, didn't I?
That's very good.
That was the 11th task. Eventually, the final task was Heracles went to the end of the world again, to the underworld. Some say it was Morocco, some say it was Libya. Anyway, he went into the underworld to catch and bring to the surface the three-headed dog Cerberus, which he does and drags him to the surface and then gives him a treat and sends him back to the underworld saying, good boy, you did so well.
Good boy.
So, Ryan, what does this have to do with Morocco? Well, obviously, we have the creation of the Atlas Mountains.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, we also have the Garden of the Hesperides, and the Roman historian Pliny the Elder located the Garden of the Hesperides at what he called Lixos. And Lixos is indeed an ancient city in Morocco.
Oh, no way.
So
it's amazing, the connection between ancient Greece and Morocco.
It's all coming together.
Yeah, very good.
So we believe we know when it was founded, thanks to another piece of literature from pre-500 BCE in a work that is called the Periplus of Hanno.
Okay.
Now, we've come across a periplus before, but I'll remind you what it is.
Yeah, please.
It's a document that describes a sea journey along a coast, describing the ports and the landmarks as long with the distances between them. So like very early Google map directions. Hanno was a Carthaginian explorer, Carthage being a Mediterranean coastal empire based out of the city of Carthage, which is now Tunis in Tunisia, and was established by our friends the Phoenicians. So apparently Hanno was a super common Carthaginian name. So it's like saying it's John the Navigator. Who was he? Nobody really knows. And his periplus is not exactly stacked with details. It's only 101 lines long.
Oh, okay.
But it does say, this is the report of the periplus of Hanno, king of the Carthaginians, into the Libyan areas of the earth beyond the Pillars of a Hercules, Libya being general term for North Africa.
They wrote well in the old days, didn't they?
They did. So the periplus goes on to say, he set forth with 60 ships of 50 oars and a multitude of men and women to the number of 30,000 and with wheat and other provisions, after passing through the Pillars. So bear in mind we're talking about Gibraltar, the Pillars of Hercules that we talked about earlier. For 2 days' journey beyond, where we founded the first city, which we called Thymaterium, lay in the midst of a great plain. So that's Thermaterium, which is the modern-day Media in northwestern Morocco. And then there's more journeying, and he says, sailing thence, we came to the Lixus, a great river flowing from Libya. By it, a wandering people, the Lixitas, were pasturing their flocks, with whom we remained some time, becoming friends.
That's so amazing, isn't it?
So that's it. That is Lixus, founded by the Phoenicians around 600-ish BCE. Or was it? Is that real, or is that just literature from a long time ago? Well, archaeologists have investigated the area near the town of Larache on the northwestern Atlantic coast of Morocco, and they found evidence of a settlement.
No way, it's amazing.
As they dug down, they went back in time, finding ruins from the Islamic period, 12th to 15th century, then Roman ruins, 5th and 6th centuries, Mauritanian, 2nd century BCE to 50 CE, Punic, 5th to the 3rd centuries BCE. Finally, as promised by the literature, they found buildings and red slipware, a characteristic pottery, from the time of the Phoenicians, somewhere between the 8th to the 6th century BCE.
Boom!
So was this the location of the Garden of the Hesperides? Who knows, but they certainly haven't found any golden apples. But as a final point, even on that there is a theory that the golden apples of myth are in fact an interpretation of some Mediterranean ancient storyteller who one day was presented with a golden fruit they'd never seen the like of which before.
Yeah.
An orange.
Oh, for real, really? And he was like, it's a golden apple.
Ta-da!
That's fantastic. Well, I've got to say, Pete, when you started this off, I was like, oh dear, he's fumbled the ball on this one. But my goodness, that was fantastic. I think this is one of your better ones yet.
I was delighted to find it just scraped into the time period there. And
no, that's fantastic.
I'm going with this. So there you have it, my friend.
Brilliant.
Hurrah!
Seriously, that was awesome. Well done, Pete. Apollodorus, come on in.
Hi, Jerry.
So, what have you brought me this time, eh? More epic myths, talking goats, fire-breathing badgers, I bet.
Well, no, for my next book, I've written about a man named Simon.
Simon?
Yeah, he's a simple man. He tills the fields and brings in the harvest, pays his taxes.
Is that it?
Well, he also loves and laughs, experiences joy and heartache.
Yes, but does he battle a 12-foot cyclops?
Well, no, I just wanted to write something relatable.
Right. Well, it's just, I ask myself, will people buy it?
Oh, of course, it's about life, the only real adventure.
Right. Well, what happens to this Simon then?
Well, in one chapter, his wife yells at him to fix a squeaky door.
Gosh, yes, that is pivotal.
Exactly.
I mean, her yelling at him must be like a lion.
Yeah, you know, it kind of is.
So, I mean, I suppose that squeaky door becomes the mighty lion, and our hero overcomes this trial by strangling it with his bare hands.
What?
Oh, yes, powerful stuff, Apollodorus. My goodness, very powerful.
Is it?
Oh, yes. So, what else does he do?
Well, in chapter 6, he completes his tax return.
Oh, my gripping stuff. All those many complicated forms. Well, I mean, it's like battling a 9-headed hydra or something.
I suppose you could say that.
Yes. 2 new heads growing every time one is cut off.
That's very specific, but I guess.
I mean, this is gold, Apollodorus.
Right.
Anything else happening to Simon?
Well, he does go to the market.
Well, I mean, I'm not the author here, Apollodorus, but market, eh? Ugh. I mean, there's traffic and haggling and it's like travelling to the end of the earth for a small bag of golden apples, am I right?
Well, it's... I suppose you could say that.
And this guy, Simon, do you think he sees himself as the hero of his own story?
Well, of course, that's kind of the point of the book.
Right. So if he is the hero and he sees himself as a hero, then maybe he can call himself a...
Hercules?
That is perfect. You are genius, Apollodorus.
I suppose I am.
So, we're agreed. You'll get those changes written up, and I'll have the Labours of Hercules in bookstores tomorrow.
And it'll still be about the mundanity of existence, though, right? The life of a simple farmer?
Of course it will, Apollodorus. Of course it will.
All right, Ryan, I'm excited to discover what you've got for me.
Yeah, I mean, look, we were both a bit apprehensive, weren't we? When the Derzolation gave us, literature in Morocco, 1500 to 500 BCE. I mean, I thought, there was going to be definitely something here, right? You get literature thrown in as your topic and you think, well, probably like a clay tablet somewhere that has a story, a story on it, a bit of parchment. But no, I found nothing. No literature. I Googled it. I read some academic journals. I could not find anything from early North Africa. All I kept getting was this one phrase, no surviving manuscripts. It was driving me crazy. So I wrote to the National Library in Rabat, and I said, you got anything? And they said, yeah, well, no, obviously not, no. So I looked up a bunch of archaeologists, people that specialise on the Berber tribes, early Berber people. And I thought, maybe I could get one of them to talk to me about what they do. But didn't get an email back. So what did I do? Well, I thought maybe someone has written a novel about Morocco during that time period,
That
right?
would definitely qualify.
It would, right? Because people write historical fiction all the time, Pete.
They do.
So I went out there, I started looking to see if anyone had actually written anything. And it turns out that somebody has.
Oh!
Right? Yeah, an actual bit of literature about Morocco during that time period. That's not the amazing bit of news, Pete. The amazing bit of news is I reached out to the author and asked if they wanted to talk to me about it, and they agreed.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So we have an interview.
Oh, good stuff. Well done, mate.
So here you go. Now, I'm going to let him introduce himself and tell you a little bit about his book.
All right.
Hi, my name is Ryan Weir. I'm a podcaster and novelist, and I'm the author of Starsong. It's a modern piece of literature, and it's set in the region of Morocco, where Morocco is now, and it's set around 2,500 years ago. It was a bit of a challenge writing it, mainly because I had to do it in about 3 weeks, and that meant researching it and writing it and getting it published. But I did it, and it's out there, and I really hope that people enjoy it.
He sounds like a fascinating character, Ryan.
Yeah. So there you go. That's Ryan Weir. And as he said there, he's the author of a novel called Starsong. Now, you're probably wondering what the story's about, right?
I am wondering.
Yeah. Well, I asked him if he'd tell us a bit about it. So this is what he had to say.
Okay.
All right, yeah. Well, it tells the story of Isri, who is a young boy. He lives in a remote settlement in the mountains of North Africa. And one day he witnesses the destruction of his people at the hands of this brutal empire, looking to conquer people by erasing their culture and establishing their own. Now, Isri is the people's memory keeper, someone who's relied on to memorize and pass on all of their history and their culture, their traditions, their stories, basically pass that on to the next generation. And so during the attack on his village, Isri manages to escape. And of course, he now alone holds the last of their knowledge in his mind. And so he sets out on turns out to be a lifelong journey of survival, working to preserve and share the knowledge that he has in a world that is increasingly coming under the threat of cultural cleansing. So, using his knowledge, he kickstarts a rebellion that faces danger at every turn. So, it's a coming-of-age adventure, survival story. It's poetic and it's touching, but it's funny too. And, of course, it's a fictional story, right? So I had to make sure that it was at least grounded in fact. So there's some nice history in there too, if that's your thing, which I guess probably is your thing, right?
Well, I must say, Ryan, joking aside, that sounds like quite an interesting story that I would like to hear more about.
This is a real novel, by the way. I spent the past 3 weeks writing a novel.
I was hoping you'd say that.
19 chapters, 120,000 words, and genuinely, it exists. So, so there you go. Ryan mentioned there about grounding the story in fact. So obviously I had to ask him a bit more about that, and this is what he had to say.
Yeah, well, look, so Starsong is my first novel, right? So this was all new to me. Basically, I wrote this as a bit of a dare, a challenge,
challenge
for me and a friend. And basically, there's no literary record for that period. It's basically silent. And I thought I would try to make that world just come to life a little bit. But to do that, you have to root it in fact, right? So I did some research and I went through some archaeological evidence, reading up on cultural traditions, and I found so many traditional storytelling methods from that period, things from cave art and just sort of symbols, painted pots, things that basically so many things that I had to actually make a reference guide for myself that I could just go back to and check that I was incorporating all of this wealth of culture. And I guess, it's just to sort of make sure that I was referencing real world things in the novel. There's kind of a view that nomads and early settlers were just kind of these barbaric loners grunting their way around. And, that's just not true. They had fears and ideas and dreams and ambitions, just like all of us. And they wrote that stuff down, like we do. But I guess we just do it differently now. How long does memory last? Can we ever really know what the image of a spiral meant to a guy living there then? It's unlikely, but we can make an educated guess, and I guess that's kind of what I've done in my novel. So, look, I'm not sure that answered the question. Sorry.
Oh, Ryan, this is audacious, but I'm here for it 100%.
Yeah, so I thought I really enjoyed talking with Ryan.
You did. The meeting of minds that was.
He's a fascinating guy. It's some really interesting theories about alien technology. So I asked Ryan if he wouldn't mind giving us a short reading from the novel.
I'll be delighted to hear it.
And this is what he had to say.
So this is from chapter 5. It's where Isri and the other remaining survivors from his village are attempting to escape through enemy territory by crossing a swollen river by using boulders as stepping stones. "One at a time," he called over the water's roar. "Test each stone before stepping. Use the rope to steady yourselves." Amar had by this time secured one end of the rope to an outcropping on the bank. He tied a series of simple loops in the length, creating handholds, then tossed the free end to Isri, who secured it to a boulder on the far side. Making it across without incident, Isri joined Amar in directing the crossing from the far bank, offering encouragement and advice. Nima came next, then her sister Leela, both moving with the natural agility of youth. Dera followed, her movements slow but steady. Neville required help from two of younger men, but eventually made it across. Yasmin, with her infant secured tightly against her body and her toddler clinging to her back, crossed with remarkable surety despite her burden. The twins, Daro and Nimi, crossed holding hands, refusing to be separated, even with the rope for stability. And, one by one, the survivors of Tinefit made their way across the swollen stream. Amar remained at the midpoint, steadying those who faltered, until only he remained on that precarious perch between safety and danger. Isri looked proudly at each face in turn. "Now He stopped, abruptly. Something was wrong. His attention drawn by movement on the ridge above them. Studying the crest, silhouetted by the grey-white sky, dark figures moved with purpose. Sons of ash, following a path toward the crossing stones. "Get down!" Isri hissed, dropping to a crouch and gesturing for the others to do the same. Together, they moved quickly, huddling behind rocks and juniper, scarcely breathing as the patrol approached. 6 warriors, armed with spears and shields, moving with coordinated efficiency. They paused at the crossing point, and Isri realized they were searching for signs of travellers.
Well, Ryan, I must say 2 things. Number 1, I talked about the Labours of Hercules. I think the Labours of Ryan need to go into the pages of mythology. The cleaning of the Augean stables in one day has nothing to writing a novel in time for a podcast. And point 2, Neville.
Naval, really.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not Neville. Yeah. I'm tired, Pete.
I bet, mate. I want to read it, though. It sounds great. I'm here for it. I am.
Yeah. Well, good, because where could you possibly read it?
I want to know.
If anyone does want to read the full novel, Ryan has the details here, so you can go find it.
Okay, all right, so Starsong is available to read in full. You can download it now at the Kindle store. You just search for Starsong and it'll come up there. paperback, audio book, those editions are going to come at some point, but at the moment it's just digital. So look, if you do read it, I hope you enjoy it. Reach out and let me know. And thanks for having me on. And thanks. Bye.
So there you go, Pete. An imagined voice filling a very real gap in the historical record there.
Ryan, I don't know what to tell you, Ryan. I'm blown away by your creativity and commitment to the cause. I am absolutely blown away and give you full cap-doffing respect for that.
Well, thank you very much. I look forward to your book review come the verdict.
All right, then, listeners, you must download... Well, you don't have to, but you really should, because that extract sounded gripping to me. Ryan, I'm genuinely blown away by your determination and commitment to make something out of what was a very difficult topic. And the sheer audacity of interviewing yourself will go down in history, happened everywhere, history.
An HHE podcast novel. The
first one. This is terrific. Well done, Ryan. I just round of applause.
Thank you. All right, Pete. Well, look, on that bombshell.
That was a bombshell. I loved it.
It is that time, Pete. The eyes of the audience are swivelling in their sockets, and they are swivelling them towards us. It is time for us to withdraw the Derzolator.
Do it.
And to punish ourselves with yet another time, place, and topic.
Something a little more accessible this time would be nice.
All right, let's let it roll, see what it gives us. Our place is New South Wales.
New South Wales?
Yeah. That's in Australia, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. Okay. That's making me edgy already. All
right, so New South Wales. All right, and our time is the Edo period in Japan. That's 1603 to 1868.
Oh, it's long, so that might be okay.
1868 sounds maybe okay, doesn't it?
We might scrape something.
Okay, and the topic then. Here we go. The topic is magic tricks.
Yay!
That's
like
cool.
That. Yeah,
okay.
Nice.
All right, so it is magic tricks in New South Wales during 1603 to 1868.
Sure, it'll be a piece of cake. We'll pull a rabbit out of the hat, I'm sure.
Right, well, look, there you go, everybody. That is the show for this week, so thank you all for listening. If you'd like to get in touch about any of the things that we've talked about on the show, or just to say hello, you can do that by reaching out to us through our website at hhepodcast.com or by email at peteandryan@hhepodcast.com.
Yeah, we haven't had any human contact for a long time, so please write to us, talk to us, let us know you're there. We'd love to hear from you, and you never know, you might end up featured on a feature show.
Yeah, that's right. And if you're on Mastodon, Instagram, Facebook, or the others, you can find us at HHE Podcast.
And if you subscribe to those, you'll get an alert when we post, I don't know, extracts of this amazing novel that we've all heard so much about.
Yeah, that's right. But in the meantime, we are going to be back, and we'll be back with
The Verdict.
But until then, a huge thanks to our guest, Ryan Weir.
Oh yeah, massive thanks, Ryan, for giving us your time and your wisdom.
My absolute pleasure, and a thank you to you, Pete.
And thank you to you, Ryan, as a host as well.
And that is it. I guess all that's left to say is...
You've been listening to...
History happened everywhere.
Hey Ryan.
Hey Pete.
What are you up to?
Oh, well, I've had an idea for a sketch, so I'm just typing it up.
A sketch?
Yeah, like a comedy skit, for the podcast.
Oh, right. Well, what's it about?
Well, you remember how I couldn't find any real literature in Morocco during 1500 to 500 BCE, so I just, wrote a novel myself?
How could I forget?
Well, I was thinking we could do a sketch about it.
A sketch about you writing a novel.
No. A sketch where I talk about writing a sketch, about interviewing myself about writing the novel.
You've lost me.
I mean, it's quite simple.
It's definitely not.
No, listen. First, I, Ryan, sit down to write a sketch. Then, in the sketch, I, Ryan, explain that I'm writing a sketch about interviewing myself about writing a novel because I couldn't find anything to talk about.
Right, so you're writing a sketch about interviewing yourself about writing a novel about Morocco.
Exactly.
I don't get it.
It's meta, P.
Well, that's one word for it.
I mean, we could even put this in the sketch. A bit about us talking about writing the sketch.
A sketch about writing a sketch about us discussing a sketch about you writing a sketch about interviewing yourself about writing a novel?
Exactly.
Oh, it's a bit much, isn't it?
No, not at all. And I think we can go even further. I think we could break the fourth wall.
What, just start addressing the listeners directly, showing that we all know that this is just a sketch?
Exactly. They're going to love it.
Will they?
Well, I don't know. Let's ask them. Hey, listeners, is this sketch too meta or are you enjoying it?
See? Nothing.
Oh, wait, 1 second.
Yes, we like the sketch.
There you go. I knew it.
But not as much as we liked Ryan's novel, Starsong, now available to purchase as an ebook through all the usual places where you can purchase ebooks, like Amazon Kindle, Apple Books, Kobo, and many others. All you have to do is search for Starsong and Ryan Weir, and you can start reading it today.
Wait, Ryan, is this sketch just one big advert for your book?
Maybe.
All right, but as your manager, I want 10% of whatever you make.
Buy my book.
Yeah, buy his book. It's on Amazon right now. Go, go, go.
Nice.
Louis, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Hello, lovely YouTube folks. This is a special message just for you.
Yeah, thanks for listening all the way to the end.
Now, if you enjoyed the show, please let us know your thoughts in the comments below.
And don't forget to take a moment to hit that like and smash subscribe.
Hit that like?
Yeah.
Smash subscribe?
Yeah, it's what people say.
Do they, though?
Yeah, only the cool kids.
And you think you're the cool kids, do you?
No, we're the cool kids.
Oh, yeah, I suppose we are. All right, smash that like button, people. Smash it real good.
Oh, yeah. Nice.